So welcome, congratulations, Colorado, for another appearance in the top 10. We are going to, this is Unit 3. We'll introduce ourselves, have you introduce yourselves and your teacher, and then we'll have a fine time this afternoon talking about the Constitution. My name is Joe Stewart. I'm in the Political Science Department at Clemson University, the other CU, I'm in South Carolina, where the elevation isn't quite the same as it is in Colorado.
Hello, Colorado. My name is Anthony Arapino. I'm an attorney at the Conservation Law Foundation in Montpelier, Vermont. I'm pleased to be judging on a Monday for the first time.
Hi, I'm Pat Long. I'm a retired Superior Court Commissioner from Sacramento, California, and interested in what you have to say today.
Well, good afternoon. My name is Marshall Hawley, and I'm a junior.
I'm Revi Jackaruso. I'm a junior.
I'm Ian Camlett, and I'm also a junior.
I'm Lily Tosburn, and I'm a junior.
And I'm Hannah Ty, and I'm also a junior. And our teacher is Mr. Mark Tallhofer.
Okay, good. Thank you. Well, welcome and congratulations again. I'm going to start by reading the question, which is no surprise, is question 1. But I need to read it for the people who haven't spent quite as much time as you have dealing with this, and then we'll hear what you have to say about it. An American scholar claims that because democracy is a government by persuasion and deliberation, it implies the existence of what in the British tradition is known as the loyal opposition. So long as the opposition is attached to the fundamental principles on which democratic government is based, organized opposition to the prevailing government is not only legitimate, but essential to its proper functioning. Do you agree or disagree? Why? How would you describe or define loyal opposition, and how would you distinguish it from obstructionism? What purposes does or should loyal opposition serve in a democracy? You may begin.
We agree with John Hallowell's assessment that loyal opposition is not only legitimate, but essential to the proper functioning of democratic government. Originating in Parliament in 1826, loyal opposition, as defined by the British parliamentary system, is a political party that, while committed to the constitutional basis of government, is opposed to the party in power. In such a parliamentary system, one party, by definition, controls both the legislative and executive branches at any one time. So, the loyal opposition is clearly defined as the minority party. However, in the American system, party power may be divided between the executive and legislative branch, as well as within the legislature. This makes the direct translation of loyal opposition from England to the United States difficult. In the United States, loyal opposition is very much a subjective label. Therefore, our panel is divided on how best to define the term in the American context. Some believe that, as in the British system, loyal opposition is a term limited to political parties, while others think that any actor involved in the nation's politics, such as the Tea Party, can fulfill the role of the loyal opposition.
We disagree with the question's assumption that loyal opposition and obstructionism are mutually exclusive. Obstructionism can be defined as the systematic blocking of legislation by the use of delaying tactics and can be a legitimate tool of the loyal opposition, potentially useful to underscore the depth of its disagreement. However, if abused, obstructionism has the ability to paralyze government and impede its functioning. Article 1, Section 5, Clause 2 gives each House the power to determine its own rules. Senate rules adopted under this section authorize and legitimize the use of dilatory tactics. For example, the filibuster, authorized by Senate Rule 22, enables a minority to continue debate unless a 3/5 majority votes for cloture. In recent years, the use of the filibuster has grown exponentially. 18% of all filibusters recorded in the past 90 years have occurred in the past 3 years.
Other procedural blocks, particularly in the Senate, such as the senatorial hold, Senate Rule Section 2 and 3, rider amendments, and appointment holds, further enable the loyal opposition to delay or obstruct the majority's effort to govern, while still sustaining the fundamental principles of American democracy. We believe several of the fundamental principles of democratic government to which Hallowell refers are separation of powers, rule by the people, for the people, and government by persuasion and deliberation. Loyal opposition's purpose in democracy is one of protecting the rights of the minority, preventing tyranny, tempering the majority's legislative agenda, and bolstering civic engagement.
The loyal opposition can utilize the system of checks and balances in the American government to thwart the will of the majority party. For example, the House of Representatives is given the sole power of impeachment, Article 1, Section 2, Clause 5, while the Senate tries the proceedings, Article 1, Section 3, Clause 6. Impeachments have only occurred when the executive and the legislature were held by different parties. For example, with the impeachment of President Clinton in 1998. Likewise, the executive use of the veto, Article 1, Section 7, Clause 2, is used overwhelmingly when control of the legislative and executive branches is split, as with President Cleveland using it 414 times. Also, the record for most veto overrides was during a split administration under President Andrew Johnson, when 52% of his vetoes were superseded. Some on our panel believe that government functions ideally when two parties work as loyal opposition to each other, through their respective control of separate branches.
The loyal opposition becomes disloyal when it begins to question the fundamental principles of the constitutional basis of government. An American example of this is the secession of South Carolina after the election of President Lincoln in 1860. Post-secession, the new Confederacy wrote the Constitution of the Confederate States of America, with different fundamental principles than the ones contained in the Constitution of the United States. Although obstructionism is a useful tool of the loyal opposition, it is not essential to a properly functioning democratic system and can be as dangerous as disloyal opposition. Obstructionism is anti-majoritarian, and when used in excess and in a highly charged partisan manner, can have the effect of rendering government incapable of addressing pressing issues, producing legislative gridlock, and undermining public confidence in government. We are now open for questions.
Okay, thank you. Could you expand some on the idea that loyal opposition is not limited to parties? You said it could be from any actor. Could you talk about some of those actors and how they might engage in loyal opposition?
I would argue that the loyal opposition does not have to be a party. A good example of this is the Tea Party, because however they are not recognized as an organized political party, I believe that they do have a huge voice in some of the ideals of the Republican Party, and they disagree with the ruling party at this time. Therefore, they are trying to get their voice heard and are a part of the loyal opposition in this country.
Another example is the civil rights movement in the 1960s. For example, Rosa Parks. While they are not necessarily in government, she was voicing her opinion through civil discourse and expressing that she does not believe what the government is doing at the time.
Also, political action committees can work along the fringes of government to try and convince the public to take a different stance. We see in the UK, in the parliamentary system, since there are no procedural blocks, rhetoric and speeches are used to try and convince the other side of different policies. Using political action committees can air commercials, as seen in Citizens United via the FEC, in order to convince the American people about a certain candidate or a certain position that they hold.